Hello everyone that's tuned in so far. We're just sorting the last couple of bits out and we'll be live with you shortly. So look forward to for all of you to hear from us soon. Hello everyone and welcome to Sky Betting and Gaming's Virtual Career Spotlight. I'm sure most of you will already be aware, but for anyone who isn't, we're one of the UK's leading betting and online gaming businesses based out of Yorkshire with offices in Leeds and Sheffield, as well as an office in Solihull. Our teams design, build and maintain products such as Sky Bet, Sky Vegas, Sky Poker, Sky Bingo and free-to-play games like Super 6, as well as many others. Our Virtual Career Spotlight series will focus on a different team from across the business each week. It's your opportunity to hear from our experts. Some initial housekeeping before I introduce today's speakers. We want this to be an interactive session, so we encourage you to ask questions. Towards the end of the session, I will try and read out as many of these as I can. And to ask a question, you simply have to sign into your YouTube account and then ask your question in the comments section. You'll already see your comment in there from the Sky Betting and Gaming account, so if you just add yours in there as well, that'd be great. The session will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it back at a later date or share it with perhaps friends or colleagues who you think may be interested in this as well. Today's spotlight is on our gaming, digital media and acquisition team. Joining me, we have Neil Jones, Freddie Lister, George Glynn and Johnny Bullock. To introduce you to everyone who's listening, it's probably best to start with what you do. So Neil, I'll let you get the ball rolling.
Cool, thanks for that, mate. Yeah, cool. So I'm Neil Jones. I lead the digital media team in the kind of bigger media function, which we'll go on to kind of talk about. I started on the 2nd or 3rd of March. I've been in just over 3 months now in the main. So I'm pretty new, along with a couple of the other guys who are in the team. And the main kind of things that have attracted me to kind of coming into SPG, where we've got a full kind of, we'll go into this in a little bit more detail shortly, but we've got like a nice full in-house setup. Big budgets, working with some of like the UK's like the world's leading tech companies like Facebook and Twitter and MediaMath and what have you. And yeah, fast-moving digital business in a really fast-moving industry. So those kind of three things really stuck out to me.
Okay, Freddie, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Freddie. I work in the acquisition side of the gaming and acquisition side, and I look after the PPC, so pay-per-click advertising on Google and Microsoft Search for all gaming products, so Vegas, casino, poker and bingo. And I've worked here for just around 9 months, I think. And in terms of what attracted me to SBG, I had a previous role at agency side, and I think there's only so long you can kind of work that side without going a bit mad. So my exit strategy was always to kind of, hopefully vie for working at one of the bigger companies in Leeds, and SBG is kind of always on the radar in terms of their kind of hiring philosophy and how good they are as a company. And I wanted to put myself in a position where I was working with the best people in the best company in the city and using the best tech. So it just made sense when the opportunity came to jump on it.
Yeah, I think a couple of points on that actually. Firstly, everyone on this session today, we're all relative newbies to the business. So Freddie, you're the longest standing.
You
Oh, veterans, so all pressure on you on this call. I mean, we're expecting big things. And then I think most of the rest of us have actually joined in 2020, which reasons we'll go on to later. I think everyone's
bad omen, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it. And the agency piece as well, it's an interesting one. It's quite often you see that people do have a pretty decent stint in agency, and when they do look to move client side, I think for quite a lot of people, Sky Betting Gaming is towards top of the list. And hopefully you'll find out sort of reasons for that during the session. Johnny, I'll go over to yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a paid media executive, and my day-to-day focus is social acquisition. So I'm situated within the media team with Neil, but also I work collaboratively with the acquisition side as well, to ensure that we get deposits through social, like Facebook and Twitter and so forth like that. I've been at the business for 6 months. I can't believe how quick it's been, to be honest. It's absolutely flown by these first 6 months, even though we've been working from home for like the last 3 months or so. But what attracted me to SBG, it's massive. It's a massive company. One of the top 100 places to work. Obviously, knowing and working here now, we've got some of the best talent across the country. Really, it's unbelievable how much talent we've got. And also, I used to go to uni with Will Ridley as well. So I used to see him banging on about it on LinkedIn for months and months and months. So I thought I'd see what it's about, to be honest.
Are you enjoying it so far? I'm hoping. You better be being on the session, to be fair.
I hope he is.
George, we'll go over to you.
Yeah, I'm George. My current role is paid digital media exec. I'm on the digital side of things, but obviously working closely with the social team, Johnny, and across acquisition as well, mainly to just deliver a complete strategy. My key role is building relationships with suppliers. They're providing us with the best methods of advertising and measuring our digital performance week in, week out. I'm also tasked with looking to explore new ways in which we can attract new customers while staying committed to our sort of strict responsible gambling guidelines, which is what I'm going to be talking about later. Other business as usual tasks as well, such as monitoring budgets, flights and optimising campaigns. I worked in bet before I came over to gaming for just over a year in the football trading team while studying at university, and then moved over to the gaming marketing team, and I'm on the media side, so been here since February the 3rd, just after Johnny and just before Neil. So yeah,
George,
and Newbie as well. What'd you say?
Which is better gaming?
Oh, that's the question.
Tough question.
I
love them both, but in terms of career, this was definitely the best move, and that's why I chose to stay in Leeds as well. The location was the biggest factor while I was at uni. Spent 3 years there, and New Leeds was the place to stay. And yeah, in terms of personal development and a career within digital media and marketing, this was definitely the best option.
For future questions about which tribe is better, that's probably, George, the best time to say your internet connection's gone and actually you couldn't get the question. So
I faced that question like a boss.
It was a good political answer, wasn't it? It was nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, straight down the middle.
Yeah, it was the honest way of doing it, wasn't it? For me, it was just, the internet connection's dropped, and let's move on. And let's actually move on. So Neil, we'll go over to you. Do you mind telling us actually? Yeah, what this team looks like, what a media team means to Sky Betting Gaming, and perhaps it's worth comparing to places you've worked previously, because there are lots of people that work here, and I imagine for people the outside looking in, it'd be they'll want to get their head around what it looks like, what the landscape is like.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Like Freddie and Johnny, and there's another guy in the team as well called Billy. So all kind of, I suppose all of us have come in from agencies, and we'll have worked with an abundance of different clients previously. We've had like a number of different ways of setting themselves up. Coming into SBG, I think we're definitely set up for success. So we work as a media function, work side by side with the marketing team. The marketing team tend to brief us. They'll have like a number of different KPIs and objectives that they want to hit, whether that's awareness or consideration or conversion, and we'll usually go back with kind of like a nice complete response to brief in terms of how we're able to kind of walk that user through the funnel, hitting them with kind of like a product centric message or a brand centric message, or something that's going to be a heavy kind of incentivized message to get them over the line and convert. But then we also have kind of like dedicated communication strand to existing customers. Obviously, we're a platform like the Ubers and the Netflix of the world that you know, a lot of what we do once we get them over the line and get people over the line and they're kind of using our platform, we've got that kind of like existing customer communications piece as well to make sure that we're sending them out communications on other products that they may potentially have a propensity to use. But in terms of like the structure of the team, we've got media function, obviously just mentioned we sit alongside marketing, but underneath that kind of media umbrella, we've got campaign media, look after TV, out of home, VOD, radio, those kind of usual typical above the line channels. We've got a digital media function, which I kind of look after, and we have programmatic media and paid social that sit under that, sit under our team. And then we've got the acquisition team, which is comprised of, which I know Freddie will kind of go into in a little bit of detail, but it's comprised of search and affiliates as well. So yeah, I mean, we really kind of just manage and deliver the whole kind of like media strategy and media delivery. So everything really is part of kind of a full funnel package, kind of sums it up nicely.
Yeah, and from today's session, for everyone who is watching, we're going to sort of tap into the knowledge base of everyone that's joined this call, where you can actually just really focus on your specialist area, and we'll move on to that now. So we're going to break this down into a couple of different sections, but effectively we're looking to discuss the current state of digital media pre and during coronavirus. We don't want this session to be just about how we're dealing with sort of the impact of coronavirus right now, because let's face it, everyone is doing it, and I imagine some people may be a little bit bored about hearing about it constantly. So we're going to discuss it in two different phases. We're going to discuss what the landscape looked like before and almost the old business as usual, and then kind of how you're reacting to that currently as well. So we'll start with you, Johnny. Do you mind, I suppose, generally, so non-COVID related, to talk about what the social media landscape looks like?
Yeah, the social media landscape is forever changing, really. It never stands still. You always have to be on the ball to really succeed in social. And we have a team here. Obviously we have an organic team that do a lot of day-to-day Facebook and Twitter content, which is really, really good. And it's something that me and Billy are wanting to align ourselves with this year. When we first came in the social landscape, but Billy is more of like the campaign focus and more of the acquisition focus. What we really want to do straight away was align one social media strategy, which can deliver from a user from awareness all the way through to advocacy and go all the way through. The landscape itself was to deliver a long-term strategy. Now, when COVID did come into play, some things did change. But what we do say in social is we are very user-friendly and very user-safety focused. We do really care about the customers that we do bring in and make sure they're safe in the field, really happy about the brand. And that's our main focus for us in terms of everyone else and social in general. Social's different for different sectors. So e-commerce could have multiple different sectors. Gaming is completely and utterly different. It's just coming from an agency side to here, the shift is drastic, and you've just got to be really on the ball, know the ins and outs of compliance, but just making sure that the user safety is really first.
Okay, good. And Freddie, what's the prior to COVID? What was the search space looking like?
It's a good question. I mean, the search space from a kind of macro level is kind of a bit like social in that it's forever changing, and the kind of same shifts in user behavior and the way that search was kind of going forward are still going to be prevalent once kind of COVID-19's over. I guess for us as the gaming business side looks, before COVID, Sky Bet was a massive part of the entire business, and there's a lot of cross-sell that existed between the betting side and the gaming side, especially across Vegas in particular. So we did have a lot of visibility of people that were going through Bet and depositing, then coming through to Vegas once they'd kind of understood that slots was another kind of fun way to spend money and enjoy gambling, which is something that's kind of dried up obviously as sports stopped throughout the pandemic. So that's been an interesting turn. It's kind of actually brought Vegas to the forefront of the business, I guess. and a lot of the other products as well. So something like poker, where we were kind of almost struggling quite a bit at the start of the year, was seeing massive gains in terms of first-time deposit volumes and registrations as well. So there's a lot of actual upticks that's unfortunately occurred off the back of this, but we expect it to kind of die down and return to kind of more normal levels. It's just how we use the kind of conversion data that we've acquired throughout that time to turbocharge our strategy. So I guess a lot of the kind of ways that we'll be utilizing data in that kind of respect will be analyzing just the kind of volume of conversions that we've had compared to potentially last year. I think we're almost up maybe 50%-ish across year-to-date targets expected for the year so far. So we've got a massive bulk of customers we wouldn't have had had this not happened. So and that's without even pushing it. So like Johnny said and kind of alluded to, we've not gone out and actively increased aggression across search to kind of capitalize on a bad situation. We've kind of just let it happen at normal levels, because we don't want to be seen as that kind of company. We're not that kind of company. But moving forward after the kind of pandemic, we're going to be using, like I said, that conversion data to try and become more effective in our marketing. So yeah.
Okay. And sort of the next thing that I'd like to discuss, really, which I know that sits within sort of a couple of your remits, is programmatic. And I suppose before we discuss that, I've got to say I've come from a recruitment agency background, and prior to me across Sky Betting and Gaming, programmatic was one of those terms which, I'll be honest with you, within sort of the marketing and media space, I'd probably pluck it out of an area, but only 20% of people really had some level of knowledge, and then fewer than that still actually sort of would have had any involvement with programmatic. So it'd be great to get some insight from both Neil and George as to, firstly, in a nutshell, what is programmatic, and then what is it? Do
you not think it kind of feels like programmatic was what AI is now? Everybody's AI this, AI that. Programmatic in the old, a few years ago was everything was programmatic, wasn't it? But that just shows that a lot of people, I don't think, kind of fully understood what it was. But I won't take the spotlight from these two. They know what
you tried.
No, it's good.
That was my own gripe in the industry.
Programmatic expert.
Search guys always trying to take the spotlight with the Google and everything. No, it's a good question. So George, I'll kind of let you cover off some of the more kind of like hands-on questions, because once we start talking about the detail, I get absolutely lost, mate. So, but I think, the programmatic talent, very rare to find. Even the media agency like I came from Mediacom North. We weren't at the time managing programmatic hands-on. We were outsourcing that to another business. So I think in terms of hands-on programmatic talent, rare to find. If you can find it, keep hold of it, because the real ton of any, there's not many of them at all. Majority of people, when they deploy programmatic media, they'll do it via a vendor. We thankfully trade it in-house. We have all the kind of benefits that go alongside that, in terms of like being able to really be, we'll talk about some of the kind of benefits of our in-house setup shortly, but being able to be a lot more reactive, get a little bit more granular with our creative, like live odds and live jackpot odds into creative, which is a big thing in the kind of industry, that kind of hyper personalization of creative. But I definitely get that. It's when you compare that to kind of some of the other skill sets like search and social, programmatic is a lot more kind of rare to find, especially somebody who's had the hands-on experience with it. I know you're like a unicorn, George. I'm kind of shouting your praises there, mate.
Hey, big up. PPCs are a dime a dozen, apparently.
Happy to hand over to you there, George. Do you mind? Do you mind breaking it down almost into a little bit of layman's terms then, in terms of so what is programmatic? And to Neil's point, a lot of it's going to be over my head. So if you could try and break it down a little bit and explain what you do. Yeah,
obviously it's difficult for me personally to discuss about the industry, because I joined in February, but it's been as Mike, who's my manager within the team, he said to me from the start, it's an ever-changing industry. And programmatic's constantly changing, so you're always it's always evolving. But I think one of the key things about it is working alongside teams within our business, like Neil touched upon, working alongside the creative team, the business intelligence team, Johnny in social, and PPC, etc. They all bring it together. It allows us to sort of have our own internal structure, and yeah, that's pretty much one of the key things that I picked up from it. In terms of the actual programmatic side, working with suppliers, we work with MediaMath, etc., allowing us to trade on some of the best websites out there. Work with other partners such as Lab Bible, all have a big reach, using some of the best metrics as well out there. New ones coming in, always evolving, viewability, brand suitability, etc. There's a whole load of different parts that turn the cog, basically. So it's hard to sort of sum it up in one sentence. I suppose if you Google it, there'll be about 100 different definitions. But yeah, it's a big process, and it's all helped out by different teams.
You've done a pretty reasonable job there. To be honest, George, definitely far better than what I'd be able to do, or at least sort of my understanding of it. But I suppose one question that comes from that is CPD might be the wrong way of looking at this, but is it really important sort of across all of your areas to stay current with whatever the new trends are that are coming through for Sky Betting Gaming to remain current themselves? Happy for anyone to answer that. Yes,
it is.
Yeah, I think I'll give you like an intro and I'll throw it over to the guys. But I think, yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a bunch of different places for us to pull information from. You've got to make the effort yourself. You work in the industry, you've got to stay sharp. If you don't, it'll overtake you and you'll just kind of get left. It's like Johnny mentioned earlier on, like it's an industry that changes every year. Like if you want to work in a world where it's ever changing, you got to be comfortable with the speed at which it moves. You know, like we speak about like programmatic just then, like the reclassification of how third-party cookies are being looked at. Programmatic's a world that moves every year and gives us new kind of challenges. Search is no different, so social. So you've kind of got the onus on it to kind of educate yourself and stay current. But then we also got, you know, we work with a great media agency, we work with great vendors like Facebook, Twitter, and MediaMath we've mentioned, and Google as well, and they kind of educate us on the products. Obviously, they like to give us this. Sometimes they like to give us the big sell. So sometimes you've got to kind of just be like, yeah, no Google. I don't want to talk about YouTube, which is all they talk about with Freddie, surely.
Yeah, I'd add to Neil's point there, and that I mean, I worked in programmatic in my old agency role, and I feel like I don't know anything anymore. That was about 9 months ago. But ever more kind of off the back of Cambridge Analytica, there's a lot of data scandals that have occurred that have meant advertising online has had a big spotlight shone on it. And so reform and changes within that industry in particular across the past 2 years, something like that has been kind of compounded by the effects of the media kind of catching wind with what's going on in the industry. And I think beforehand, about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, there was a huge number of bad actors working in the kind of programmatic space, as I remember, that were kind of really taking advantage of user data and how the kind of algorithms worked. A lot of kind of ad fraud that used to exist that I'm sure George could probably touch on a bit more if interested, but it's cleaned up a lot. But it means that, like Neil said, it's an ever-changing industry that has kind of needed to change more to adapt in the past 2 years, probably more than the past 10.
Nice, and I suppose just a slight change of topic, but to go right back at you, Freddie. And to Neil's point earlier about sort of being more of an in-house process at Sky Betting Gaming, how have we navigated that process?
It's a good question. So I joined a little after we'd fully in-housed everything, but I'm kind of familiar with how it went down. And a previous agency role, in-housing is like it's a scary word because to a lot of people it kind of strikes fear within the agency kind of mindset and model that the world's going to collapse, business is going to fail, and all that stuff. But we still use agencies for a lot of stuff. I guess what in-housing means to us as a PPC team was that it gave us a lot more control over what we were doing. So hiring specialists like I guess myself to manage how we take the account forward, we were kind of reducing the latency that would probably occur that you have with an agency in terms of getting stuff done. So the whole process would be we come up with an idea or we talk about results and ideas, and then there'd be a lot of back and forth with somebody who doesn't sit in your office, a different business. And the people that you were talking to at the agency side, they've got their own work schedules, they've got multiple clients that don't sit close to you as a business. So there'd be kind of a lot of back and forth and probably delays in your ability to be agile as a team. And I think that kind of reduced latencies meant that over the past 6 to 9 months that we've been working as an in-house unit, we've been able to kind of push the account, I guess, forward faster than we potentially could have done had we had an agency that's like I said, working on several accounts. In terms of the actual in-house process, I guess where we take it forward now is just kind of building on it. So understanding, BAU structures and what kind of work needs to happen on a daily basis, and having a bit of a longer term view of where we want to take the account, and then hiring appropriately to kind of build that team out more, and then pushing to kind of reach that goal.
Okay. Pretty thorough overview. I like it. And I suppose having come from agency to now being client side, and it is a new sort of experience for you, but it's also a new experience for the business. Can you see it? Does a business have to be a certain size to be able to do that in the first place? Or what are the considerations there?
I mean, at the moment, I'm one person currently looking after 4 brands, PPC brands. So I guess, I wouldn't say I do the output of 4 people, but it shows that it doesn't necessarily take a huge number of people to hire in-house to make it happen. That said, some people, some businesses function in a totally different way, in which they're more kind of reliant on an agency to fulfill some of the roles that they require, and it's not necessarily capable with one person. I think we've got the power at SBG to kind of in-house things a lot more seamlessly, so it's been a bit more of a, like I said, a bit of a seamless process. Again, I just want to kind of point out as well that from an agency background, it's quite daunting to come client side, because you think you're going to lose out on a lot of knowledge around the industry in particular, and you think you might be taking a bit of a step back because you're just focused on one discipline and one client, and it might narrow your view of the digital world, which is kind of a scary thought actually. But I found actually that it's the opposite. You go to a role like this and you find that you can be more granular and become more specialized in certain areas of the accounts, and find out the actual depths of what's capable across each of the platforms, even if you're just looking at it day to day, and the job's what you make of it. So I found that actually coming in house has been probably better, more integral to my learning of how these products work than I initially thought, and was quite scared about moving.
Good points. And on those points, Neil, what are the core benefits of the in-house function, and how do you measure and then maintain success?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think just quickly echoing Freddie's point there, like it coming from agency sides, and I'm sure Johnny would say the same thing, and Billy, if we asked him in our team, I think that worry is always at the back of people's minds from like a recruitment perspective. I'm sure, like going from the agency world, don't really want to go and work client side. That old adage is like, oh, the benefits are a lot better, but kind of we get a little bit more blunt as a result, but we won't be as sharp. And I think, as you mentioned in the kind of first section, SBG, phenomenal talent both across the bet and the gaming side. Very, very quickly realize that as soon as you have your first conversation or a couple of conversations in the recruitment process, and then you come in and you realize that the people that you're going to be working with are second to none, and they're really, really great at what they do, and that makes your life a lot easier, because you immediately kind of put at ease in terms of like the level of talent that's already here. Then they must be pretty happy, and that kind of just ticks that box in your mind. So I absolutely get where Freddie's coming from on that one. I think the in-house solution, we're a lot more agile than we would be if we were to have outsourced it. There's certain things that I think need to be handled and looked after by brands, and what we have in-house as our kind of digital media and acquisition proposition in terms of what we do in-house, that kind of stuff needs to be managed by us, especially with us being a heavily regulated industry. There's certain things that we need to be able to push and pull. Suppression, for example, we mentioned it earlier on in terms of like making sure we treat customers and new customers, so new customers and existing customers, in a way that's safe. So we suppress people who are showing signs of a gambling addiction. So that kind of stuff's extremely important. We want to be able to kind of like activate that and make sure that doesn't fall down, and we're not kind of trying to liaise with an agency, making sure that stays stood up. We're able to kind of action that and make sure we look after that kind of stuff ourselves. So agility, control, having those close partner relations, as we mentioned, but just having our view of the world. Like, digital media is difficult enough to measure, and we don't want multiple parties kind of being part of that conversation. We want to kind of like really control that narrative and be able to kind of get an honest view of the world. It's difficult enough getting that transparency, and I think we want to kind of have our view of things.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of an agency lens, isn't there, on certain things. And I know you mentioned there, Neil, that there's the kind of relationships piece that's a benefit of in-housing things. So just probably adding to that, there's the external relationships that you probably go through your agency with, beforehand. But there's also internal relationships that you can kind of expand on and kind of improve as a result of having more knowledge and control of the accounts that you're kind of handling on a day-to-day basis. So there's a lot of benefits in that respect too.
Yeah, I'd just add in that as well. I think with coming from like an agency background as well, and then moving back to brand side, you get so much more time to really delve into the platforms and really learn and use data to make much better results. I think sometimes when you are working agency side, it can become really difficult to be really not fully data driven, but give a client sometimes the time that you'd want to give probably SBG now. I think now when we sit down and want to make decisions, we can have a good hour or 2 hours conversation about the benefits and the negatives, what we could potentially face. And sometimes with agency, you sometimes have to make just a split decision. It could be could be good, could be wrong, but I think here you have so much more time to develop. And it's definitely, for me coming in now, I think I much prefer working as more brand side than I do agency side for sure.
That's what I'm thanking. Okay, you touched in there. So we've got a little bit more to discuss, and we'll go on to that shortly. But before we do, just a little bit of shout out to those that are watching so far. It seems as if we've got a relatively shy bunch, so we haven't had any questions come through yet. We've still got sort of another 10-15 minutes or so, things that we would like to discuss and share with everyone who's watching. But if you do want to ask any questions, anything at all in that digital media marketing, sort of programmatic social search space, feel free to ask questions, and I'll hopelessly answer them, but I can pass it on to the experts. So the next question is one for Johnny, and I've got to say that he gave me the stats before this call, so don't think that I know this information. Video is predicted to account to 82% of all internet traffic by 2022, but should it be the only creative you have live?
Good question. I think video has and always will be a great asset for any brand, really. I think it's vital for strategy, especially now and in the future as well. The way platforms are optimizing towards video, it has to be part of your strategy moving forward, especially moving on more social. I think it's more vital for marketers as well. I think with what video can do is we can really target people depending on viewership. So if someone watched like 3 seconds of your video, maybe put them in more of an awareness phase. If someone's watched 75% of your video, maybe target them with an acquisition message, because they're probably more likely to be more engaged with your brand if they've watched longer of the video rather than someone's just watched 2 or 3 seconds. But do I say it should be the only creative? I'd probably say no. I think you've got to test until you get things right. You've got to test different creative, try and make sure efficiencies are made short term and long term. But I think as a brand, I think you've got to test statics, like in imagery, test carousel ads, GIFs, just make sure you get a good variation in there and try and find the right creative, I think, which is for your brand. That's probably, and that only comes from testing. The word that we do love in digital marketing is just constantly test, scale and learn. That's what we live by, really. So to answer your question, probably not just the only creative, but test before you go all in, really.
Okay, cracking points there, Johnny. Thank you very much, and thanks for the stats ahead of the call. Made the question a little bit better.
Sounded great, didn't it?
Next one's for you, George, and sort of you've, I suppose, answered some of this in part already, but you definitely could elaborate on it. You very recently were at university. It feels like a long time since I was there, so things definitely would have changed in terms of the advice that I could give new graduates. But what advice would you give to them looking to get into the digital media space? So let's not jump straight to graduates. Let's talk about people perhaps that are at university first. So those people that are at university and those people that have already graduated.
Yeah, so I joined university about 3-4 years ago. Studied sport business management, and that was a massive help, but I wouldn't say it was essential to getting into the industry in terms of knowledge base. It obviously gives you help to get a internship or explore different opportunities whilst you're there, but yeah, it was something that helped me along the way with certain parts of this business, programmatic in particular, such as analytics. and different metrics such as key performance indicators, etc. So that in terms of that, it helped me. But if you were thinking about not going to university, I'd definitely recommend trying to find experience on an internship within a business. It doesn't have to be a big business. Just build your knowledge base up from there. But university was definitely a big help. It helped me get into Sky Bet in the bet side, and then move across. So that was an internal move. As I say, the knowledge is amazing. It's not essential, but I think it's definitely about the experience and building up your contacts.
Okay, and on that, I suppose a bit of an open question to the rest of the people on the call just now. It's what attracted you to digital marketing, and how did you individually get into it? So I imagine you weren't necessarily, you've all worked, or most of you worked agency, but how did you find yourself in agency in the first place? Neil, let's start with you. Sorry, mate.
I came into so I kind of always knew I really wanted to go into marketing from, like, it's a bit ridiculous, but from like the age of 15, I kind of always knew, did marketing as a degree, kind of just structured things so that I was going to go into that world. I was just kind of always fascinated by it, and then took digital because it was, as we mentioned, like fast moving, pretty tech and data led. I ended up, like, as my first coming out of uni, I ended up working for free, which is just the scourge of our industry, trying to get like a kind of a foot on the ladder, really. Took like an unpaid agency job for a little while, and then eventually got a paid agency placement. So not like, I'm definitely kind of against that kind of path in terms of not paying people. I definitely think that our industry should be mature enough now so that we're actually paying people to do the work. Although I know, you've kind of got to make that mark and get your foot on that ladder. But digital marketing, was massively appealing just because of, again, just how fast moving it was, and the different kind of like parts of like the ecosystem and different channels that you get to work with.
Okay, and Johnny, Freddie, I'll let you two fight out. Who wants to?
Go on, Freddie.
Yeah. So I actually did a degree in psychology first, which was totally unrelated to marketing, but until my third year, in which I started actually thinking about what I wanted to do as a career. And then I kind of put it to the back of my mind till the end of the year and got my marks back and decided that, what was I doing well in, what was I doing badly in. And I think that some of the stereotypical psychology aspects and modules that you expect people to go into, like clinical side, were stuff that I wasn't doing that well in, but marketing and business was stuff I was doing good in. So I thought, rather than helping people, I'd try help people to buy things. So marketing fell into that role quite nicely, and digital in particular was a great blend of appealing to people, but also tangibly working with data, which is a big part of psychological testing and statistical analysis. So I thought that kind of skill set overlapped quite nicely with the marketing role. So I actively started writing. I think I started writing a blog, trying to find a job post graduate, about the kind of overlapping trends that you'd see in marketing and psychological analysis, which landed me a job at my first place, agency side. Fortunately, I was paid. Sorry, Neil. I kind of found myself here afterwards. But once you get your head around some of the core facets and tenets of digital marketing, you understand that it goes so deep. You'll never know all of it, and you'd be naive and foolish to say that you've kind of completed it or clocked it. There's always stuff to learn, and it's a complex industry, so it's quite enticing to kind of go into and keep working.
Definitely, it's ever evolving, isn't it? And so I imagine, not that I do what you do, but I've spoken to marketers over the years, that is a key part of actually what continues to drive you. That you're going to always develop your own skill set.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the only thing I'm afraid of is robots taking over our jobs in 15 years. But everyone with a digital job in any industry is probably the same.
I'm a recruiter, and there's definitely AI and alternatives. They'll probably go less red than I do on a video call. Johnny, over to yourself. What attracted you, and how do you get into digital marketing?
Mine's really weird, to be honest. I was never really into business or marketing in general when I was going through school, and even through at the start of college. Really, I didn't or wasn't really particularly interested. I was more of like a media person, interested in like videography and stuff like that. And then I got pulled into one of my got pulled by one of my tutors one day. She's like, "Are you actually dyslexic?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you on about?" And I thought she was like having me on really, because we had like really good crack. But it just, so she went, "No, I actually genuinely think you are." So we end up doing like a psychology test and all that stuff. And then I found out that I was like process and dyslexia. So I went through all the school and didn't really know about it. But then that's where it kind of started. So I got interested in like why I was able to read off like yellow paper, and why things were a lot easier when something was worded a little bit differently. So then it kind of falls into like the psychology thing, which like Freddie was touching on as well. But then after that, I did a bit of research and went and did marketing at uni. Like I mentioned it with Will at Teesside, and did that for about 3 years. Left there and went to a company called Durham Lane in Newcastle, and it was more of like a demand generation company. It was mainly sales, but also I moved into a marketing team with my manager at the time was Sean, and he was really, really good with me, to be honest. I think when you're a graduate, you are like quite keen to learn. You can be quite rash, and he just sits you down. He'd sat me down and said like, "Look, just follow me, and we will literally smash this." And it's great to see how good Durham Lane are doing right now after his leadership. But he taught me a lot. I went off and did an event when I left there, and then I ended up at VisualSoft. So I was a VisualSoft for a couple of years, and we worked under a lot of different industries within e-commerce, and that was such a good experience. And then I've ended up here, and hopefully I'm here for a lot longer. So, but yeah, a bit of a weird journey, to be honest.
Oh, it was a fascinating one to hear about.
Yeah, a weird one, isn't it?
It was good. I imagine that we could talk a lot longer about that, but we're not going to. We're going to move on to the questions now. We've had a few come through, so I'll just go through them one at a time, and you can elaborate on them as much as you can. One of them is more, I would say, aimed at sort of myself in a sense, in terms of I'd be the best person to answer it. It's one from Emma Williamson. So not so much related specifically to this, but more of a general thing. So it's, "Hey guys, just a general observation question. There are 5 of you who are all male. Would you say SVG is a male dominated due to the nature of the business?" Which I think is a cracking question. I'll let you answer that in some capacity, but I've got to say, I just think it's by chance in the first instance in terms of this call that it is entirely male. And in terms of how we view to improve any disparity between the two, we do have diversity, engagement and inclusion team who are working on this on a regular basis. And even in the short time that I've been in the business since January, it really is a key thing that we are focusing on to continue to make improvements to that in the future. But Johnny, I suppose you said no way there straight away.
Yeah, no way. We have a lot of females within the gaming sector, gaming tribe, sorry, and everyone's really wonderfully talented. It's based on talent, and we've got some wonderful people. So I don't think it's male oriented as well. I think we do have a good balance so far, and I think we should just keep striving to do that. I think it's right.
I appreciate that, Johnny. And like I said, I think it is a fair observation based on this call, so thanks very much for asking the question, Emma. Another one now from Gio. "Thanks, guys, for this. Just wonder, do you need some relevant work experience in the gaming industry to be able to work at Sky Betting and Gaming?" Happy for anyone to
I'll jump in. I had none. I was in bet for a year, so I sort of understood odds on that side. But in terms of gaming, I'd never logged onto Sky Vegas before I joined. I mentioned that in my interview as well, and it's purely about building up your knowledge. I said going to university will help you with certain things. They've got a lot of lecturers there who have the knowledge of the industry in different parts, so that helped me. But then getting an internship and learning about different aspects of that was unpaid as well, Neil. So you're not on the boat alone.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, appreciate it.
That helped me massively, and it was nothing to do with knowing all about gaming. It's about how you can help build the gaming brand.
It's like attitude more than anything else, isn't it? It's like I wouldn't limit yourself to applying for any job that you don't necessarily have direct experience in. It's more about attitude to learn and kind of if you want to be a part of that company rather than direct experience, I'd say.
That's it. And it is a talent delivery partner, speaking to candidates day in, day out. Recruitment starting to ramp up again at Sky Betting Gaming as well, so I may speak to some of the people listening to this over the coming months. really it's more about that we want someone to join the business that has got a fresh pair of eyes and that you bring an experience from elsewhere. If we wanted more of the same, we would solely be looking in this sector, but the reality is that we're always striving to be better, and if we see ourselves already as being one of the best, that doesn't mean that we want people necessarily to join from our competitors. Quite often it's actually people coming from other businesses who are doing extremely good jobs in their respective areas. So yeah, we would massively encourage people to apply for any roles, or even just ask for advice if you see something that you like and you don't have experience. How do you get that experience? And hopefully sort of sessions like this will help answer those questions as well. The questions are now coming in thick and fast, so let's go through them. One from Mitchell. What has been your biggest challenge since joining Sky Betting Game? Because we're slightly tight for time, we'll just have one person answering that. Neil.
Come on, that's terrible. The biggest challenge. It's a very complex business. It is not the easiest business to learn. I know obviously we've just spoken about like industry experience, and I definitely agree with everything that we've just said there. But when you compare, I look at things in a very kind of funnel view, and I'm very kind of e-commerce in the way I think. So it's very much get people to the checkout, convert them, see you later, re-engage them at some point, but for now it's done. With this, it's getting them to that conversion point, and then you've kind of got this entire other journey that begins, which is kind of how we can, as I mentioned earlier, how we communicate with that existing customer, what advertising and messaging that we show them, and how we engage with them going forward, and how do we retain them and keep them, and if they leave, how do we get them to keep coming back? So that has been a difficult adjustment, I think, for me to get my head around.
And like you say,
all of us as well. It's we came when the department itself was in a process of change, and the entire team was being restructured. So it's a difficult-ish time to join in terms of getting your head around the structures internally as well as process internally and that kind of thing as well.
I would echo both of you words there. Coming into a business, I was part of a business that had 50 employees, to then join a business which I'm getting on towards, at least Sky Betting Gaming, towards 1,500. That's a lot of people to try and understand what they all do. And yeah, I don't think any of us are anywhere near that yet. I'm definitely not. Just learning all the time. So one here now, which I can answer. How often do positions come up with Sky Betting and Gaming, either as job roles or grad schemes? In a sense, it's an easy answer because we don't necessarily structure that. We don't release a certain amount of jobs per month or per year, and a lot of it is dependent upon naturally external factors as well. So, sort of immediate in the immediate space, COVID-19 meant that we had a pause on recruitment, but we are now starting to come out the other side of it, and we are releasing roles across marketing slowly, but also across technology and all other areas of the business as well. So the best advice that I can give anyone who's keen to join the business is to look at the Sky Bet Careers website. So just Google Sky Bet Careers and then join the talent community. And that way you'll be able to constantly keep updated with emails that we'll send across to you, or if you want to just check out our website. Equally, sort of LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, we're across all of those as well. So that honestly is the best way to keep up to date with that area. One from Duo again. Digital marketing world is quite fast paced. How do you motivate yourself to keep up to speed and innovate on a daily basis? A cracking question. We kind of covered it earlier in a sense, but actually, how do you motivate yourself to do that? Do you never just think, I've learned enough?
No, no way. You've got to constantly learn and develop your skills, and work with different teams to make sure you learn different marketing channels as well. But if I'm not, I don't know if I probably speak for the group really. I think if we're not at work, we are learning like through books or through courses to constantly sharpen our skills. We have to. I think if you don't learn or constantly learn, you get worse. So I think everyone, we have to keep learning and just be really motivated to do it.
There's lots of discipline involved, isn't there? Really, you got to make sure you've got your Google alerts set up so you're keeping abreast of everything in the industry. You got to make sure you got some kind of an opinion on it. You circulate it with people. It's as easy as it is. It's easier if everyone else around you's got the same mindset. And luckily, that's the case at Sky, because if anything new changes in the industry, we'll all shout up about it, and we work quite closely with one another anyway. So we just talk openly about that as a change, and I guess that kind of knowledge sharing base is good for us to kind of keep on top of the changing of the industry. So I'd find it relatively hard to do it on my own, but because these guys are we're all talking all the time, it's a lot easier to manage. So I think as fast paced as it seems from the outside, on the inside, it's a bit easy to manage with when you're working around good people.
And I think if you find yourself where you are on your own, you haven't yet joined a team like this, do everything you possibly can do to join a team like this. So sort of that is your motivation to do the learning, to do the research, and to keep up to date with everything, because you want to find yourself surrounded by, I hate saying this, but experts. So make yourself an expert as much as you can by yourself, and then you will find yourself in a position where you've got a team surrounding you.
Just to back that up as well, like I'm not come from an agency background, but obviously these guys have, so they've got that knowledge there. And then I'm in my role, I'm constantly working with suppliers who sort of manage us in a way and make sure we're performing. They can offer us the best technology, etc. And they're always offering different innovative ways and on how we can progress, and that keeps me motivated. That's one of the things, just seeing the ways in which we can sort of stay ahead of the curve and take on competitors. And yeah, that's one of my motivations.
That's all. Because we've got a slight lag, we do have a few more questions coming, and we'll aim to finish at 2 p.m, so sort of 10 minutes thereabouts. But because we've got a slight lag with the video through to YouTube, there's a comment here which I've got no idea what it's referencing, but it's saying great work, Johnny. I'm glad the message got through with a laughy emoji face. So at some point, Johnny, you've answered a question very well there. So
is that your old manager?
That's from Will.
Yeah, it's probably from Will. Yeah,
it is from Will.
Yeah, I thought I would be. Yeah, there we
go. I thought I'd pass that on before asking the next.
So. I feel like he was indirectly just targeting me with SBG ads. To be fair, on LinkedIn, just targeting me, reach one.
Well, there we go. So one now from Laura Sammonton. Hi guys. What is the most important element of a relationship with your suppliers to ensure you get the best from them?
Keep talking. Always talking. You know, we have weekly calls with our suppliers. We have quarterly business reviews with our suppliers. We have ad hoc meetings and calls with our suppliers. And we kind of put pressure on them to make sure that we're at the forefront of the industry. We're in a competitive space in gambling. Across PPC alone, you can pay upwards of 60, 70, 80 pounds for a click. So making sure that you're in the best possible position and kind of doing what others aren't is important. So yeah, putting pressure on them and talking to them, engaging with them. You get out as much as you put in with regards to suppliers, I think.
Yeah. I agree, especially with you've got third-party suppliers, DSPs, ad servers. There's a lot of different, and especially in this current climate, being stuck at home, a lot of video calls, no chance to meet up in person. It's really difficult at this current time. But I think it's about coping, staying in communication. And yeah, as I say, we've had a lot of budget changes, a lot of lack of assets, etc. With switching over to responsible gambling campaigns to stay in line with the market and keep our customers safe. So over the past few months, especially since we're all quite new as well, it's quite difficult. But yeah, I think I can speak for us all when we say we're hoping to definitely progress and make build Sky Betting and Gaming to what it could be.
Nice, thanks for that. So hopefully that answers your question, Laura. So we've got 2 more questions to come through. So the first one is from Louise. Out of interest, what's been your most memorable integrated acquisition campaign undertaken and why? In brackets to anyone who wishes to answer. And I appreciate sort of within reason with confidentiality around current campaigns. If you can't answer that question, that's fine. But if there is anything you can share or in some capacity, that'd be great. If we can't, that's fine. I think we'll leave it. We'll leave.
That's a mindful question.
It's difficult to kind of just jump in and kind of. I like obviously guys will have their views on it, but it's difficult to kind of just hone it in on one and give without giving specifics and everything. But I'd say traditionally the way we kind of design and structure things is campaign iterances, one big kind of hero campaign, and will drive you towards always on BAU acquisition led activity. So what you're doing up here will not, more often than not be or come to fruition like further down the funnel. So it's not necessarily like we'll do kind of a dedicated acquisition campaign. I suppose Freddie will be able to hopefully add a little bit more there, being from the acquisition team.
One thing I'm kind of doing, which I guess I can disclose, is I'm working on from a PPC specific perspective. I'm working on kind of stripping back some legislation that Google imposed to kind of increase their ad revenue, basically. So they changed what exact match was in terms of a match type. I don't know if the person that asked the question is familiar with that, but it basically means that they're capturing more traffic across terms that you bid on in the exact match variant. So if you want to appear for just people that search very specifically Sky Vegas, just that keyword, that no longer exists. And what that does is capture a lot of people that are searching for terms that or phrases that encompass that one term. So it's increasing Google's ad revenue, and it's making our ads less kind of granular and less focused. We can't really understand the intent, I guess, across certain terms. If people are bidding specifically or searching for Sky Vegas login, that's different, in my opinion, to someone searching Sky Vegas as just one term, or Sky Vegas bonus offers, for instance. That they're kind of very separate in the intent that sits behind them. So we're kind of stripping back and getting to a position where we're becoming more granular across our accounts by reverting back or trying to get to a state where exact match means exact match, which means that we can kind of more granularly switch off and switch on keywords that we know are performing well based on the exact phrase or term that somebody's actually searching for, rather than what Google has now kind of described as what that means now. It's quite hard to explain, and I don't feel like I've done a very good job, but there you go, you can take that. If you don't like it, message me privately.
That's all right. I almost feel like I've got to now plug all of your LinkedIn and your other social accounts. I'm not going to be able to do that, so I don't know them off by heart, but feel free, obviously, to connect with anyone on LinkedIn if you choose to. Last question that we've got here, just with timings as much as anything. How do you keep? Oh, sorry, we've had that one. How important is offline media in driving digital efficiency? So, well, that I suppose that is a cracking question, actually. So, how are you not separate?
I think I'll let Neil talk because I've been talking a lot.
We'll do a tag team really quick. I think very, very, very important. I think a lot of digital people tend to look at offline media as not being very important, and they're kind of like, oh, TV's dead, and this whole bloody thing that usually happens, like this whole kind of like, oh no, search is king, and oh no, it's social. Like it's not the case. TV isn't dead. It drives huge volume. It's still well and alive, and I think offline media has a massive part to play. I think as soon as you start to kind of like, you've kind of got that foundation layer of measurement, and you've kind of maybe got like level 2, which is your incrementality testing and your A/B control exposed testing. Your level 3 should probably be econometric and attributional modeling, and being able to map offline media and the impact it has on digital. Okay, Freddie, quick.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I was going to say, unless you got some kind of very well set up econometrics model, I don't think I worked with many clients in the past that have successfully nailed the kind of TV to digital attribution journey. But I'd say that from a brand perspective, when I've worked at Sky, we've seen massive impact from switching off TV across search volumes, which are purely driven by people's desire to search for our brands. So I'd say bingo in particular is something that is particularly affected by shifts in TV buying patterns.
There we go. I like it. And that very much brings this to an end. Just before we finish, really, as a message out to everyone who's watching, we are aiming to continue to run these career spotlights throughout lockdown, although we are starting, obviously, to come out of lockdown now, but also then when people are back into work, we do hopefully see the value that this adds to all of you. So if you want to find out more about them, go onto the Sky Bet Careers website or Google Sky Bet Careers and Virtual Careers Spotlight, but also they will be popping up on Eventbrite and LinkedIn as well. So just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined in on the call itself, and those people who've asked the questions. Time for the cheesy bye, and that's that's it. Thanks very much, everyone.
Cheers, guys.